steering wheel. Lapse the steering wheel, yeah. Give him steering wheel. Hey, steering wheel. Somebody tell him to give it to him. Come on! Whoa!
Your leg, my please. Your leg hip.
How the f*** is this possible?
I'm driving like a grandma. Get that, Ralph? Did you hear me? Number radio. Ralph, acknowledge. Now, come on, close him down and kill him. We've got a lunatic on the track. Down that mistake. I am so annoyed.
Boys and girls, your attention, please.
Hello and welcome back inside the Purple Bay for podcast number 994. This is Todd.
No, Todd, not now.
A.K.A. Negative Camper. You know what we do on race weekends, of course.
We watch one, then we talk about it. Then we watch one, then we talk about it. Come on, Todd.
Seriously, Todd, stop yelling at Todd.
Stop yelling at me. We do that every week that there's a race. We review the race, and we're going to review the Monaco Grand Prix, as some might call it, not Paul, Monaco Grand Prix. But before doing that, of course, I've got to go introduce my my co-host. He's literally just got in the front door from a delayed flight from Ohio, where the Heart of Racing Aston Martin team was racing this weekend. You know him. You love him. Yep.
Rip from out of the wasteland. He's bad. He's beautiful. He's crazy.
Hello, everybody. This is Paul Charles, the International.
It's Paul the International, or as some call him, the sporting manager of Heart of Racing.
Some do that. Some
Yeah.
call me a lot of things, honestly. But
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
Unmentionable things.
Unmentionables, yes.
Yes, exactly. Oh, boy.
Yeah, love that travel, man.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Isn't that great?
Yeah. Although I had to get up at 5 a.m. to then find at 5:05 a.m. my flight's been delayed, so then I was already up. Great. Thank you, American.
Great.
Come on, before I go to bed at least.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Have a heart.
Have a heart.
Good grief.
Oh, good.
Well, Paul, you were able to squeeze in the Monaco Grand Prix.
Squeeze it in, I
watch.
did, on my flight back, because obviously, as you said rightly, we were racing all weekend with the GS car with the Hannes Grisham and Greenmeyer, so it was a busy weekend. Big long 4-hour race for them, and they did fantastic till we had a little brake issues at the back, but they were running right up the sharp end, so it was so good till it wasn't so good, but at least we got the finish, and they're still in the top 10 in points. So.
Sound a little bit like Charles Leclerc.
It does, except they're less whiny about it than he is. Yeah.
Yes, well, you know.
And fix the damn car.
Fix the brakes.
Yep.
Whatever.
Yeah.
But we'll get into that. All right.
Sure.
Let's talk about this. Hey, before I do anything, seriously, I have to give a big shout out to our friend and listener, Craig Guido in Atlanta, and he works at a company called the Neon Company in Atlanta. So if anyone in Atlanta is looking for neon, find Craig Guido at the Neon Company Atlanta. So just to tell you a little backstory, and it's a heartwarming story. It really is. So Craig reached out to me because he does neon, and he's really good at neon, but they're also exploring some LED lighting at the company he's at. Okay. And so they wanted to do a production run, sample what we in the industry call a POC, a proof of concept, look at the quality output of a supplier for product and materials. So they said, all right, we'll just send over a graphic or whatever, and we'll do it just so you can kind of see the quality of the materials and stuff. Well, it turns out that Craig's been listening to this podcast for years, back when it was called Formula1blog.com.
Oh, the good old days.
Yes, and he remembers all the sound bites and the Lewis Hamilton song and all of that. And he said he's so kind. He said that the podcast is the highlight of his week on Mondays when he's driving to work. And so he sent me a picture, and he said he wanted to do this sample, and he used our logo to do the sample.
Very nice.
Yeah, our tire logo.
Yep.
And so he did that, and then he said, for your 1,000th podcast coming up, which I think is the Belgian Grand Prix review.
Ooh, how apt.
Yeah, it is apt. And last night I just made a Carbonade Flamand Belgian with a Chimay and frites last night. So anyway, he sent it to me, and over my shoulder, if you're looking at this on YouTube, you can see it on the wall back there.
I see that.
He sent that, and it is awesome.
That is awesome.
And what a gracious gift for our 1,000th episode, Craig. I am truly indebted to you, and it's going to be in the podcast now, and it's super cool. And
very good. Thanks, Craig.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks, Craig. So Craig, if you get down to Road Atlanta,
we'll be there.
You got to go see Paul at Road Atlanta, and they'll be there at the Petite. And you got to go see Paul, and Paul, maybe Paul can hustle you up a Harder Racing shirt.
I can do that. Give him a tour and all that kind of stuff. Absolutely.
So make sure you do that, Craig, because he'll be there. But thank you, Craig. Seriously, it's great. It's wonderful. And he said he's been a long time. It's always interesting, and I know you see him more than listeners more than I do, Paul, at races. Right. But it's always great to meet all of you out there and to get that feedback, and we're so grateful.
Also, thank you to Screaming Matt, who dropped off a cacophony of different beer choices this weekend while we're at Mid-Alpine.
Nice.
Hadn't seen him since we were last there with the GTD car, and so we haven't been back in 3 years. So it was very nice of him. He's a corner worker, and he was at turn 9 when I think Hannah Greenmeyer caused a bit of sensation on the first lap. But either way, we did get a penalty, so we move on. So, thank you for those.
Yeah.
The team very much enjoyed the beers.
That's great. Yeah, love it, guys. You guys are the best. Our Park For Me community is just awesome. So thank you for that. All right, let's jump in. Let's just level set the race weekend. So, the season in context. You got Kimi, had 5 wins in the first 6 races now. He had 4 consecutive victories,
wins,
right? Yeah. Led George by 43 points going into this weekend. Lewis had a couple back-to-back podiums, too, so that was good. Sort of very quietly, Paul, repositioning the deck chairs at Ferrari a little bit with Charles is Lewis, which is great to see Lewis back on form. That's great. McLaren, they had a whole lot of reasons to come into this weekend with a lot of vibes, right? The whole mood at McLaren, this is exciting because back in 1966, Bruce McLaren fielded the McLaren car at Monaco. This was their 1,000th Grand Prix weekend for McLaren. So polite golf applause for Zach and the entire team.
And all that came before him.
Ron. Mansour Ogier, Ron, Bruce, all those people that put in a lot of work.
Teddy Mayer.
Teddy Mayer, yes. A great weekend for them. Unfortunately, the race result wasn't great, but congratulations on the 1,000th Grand Prix. I do think it's worth mentioning that Leclerc he'd been battling some inconsistent braking issues throughout the entire weekend, had a problem, he said, since Canada. Hamilton was running a different brake configuration for the previous 3 to 4 races. And so, hold that thought. Keep that in mind as we get into the Ferrari review. I just think it's interesting. The race itself, Paul, it's 78 laps around the Principality, 7 retirements, 2 safety cars, a red flag for breaking up track surface, the asphalt coming apart, 6 pit lane speeding penalties spread across 5 drivers, and multiple post-race investigations. So you can clearly tell that the guest steward was Derek Warwick this weekend.
Your favorite steward.
Yeah, the guy, Derek, if you're micromanaging all of them, then neither of you are doing your jobs. So let's jump in. We'll start off sharp into the grid. We'll talk about Mercedes. Kimi Antonelli, P1, George, P12. From a team perspective, look, it was a win for one driver, catastrophe for the other driver. It just really illustrates how the same car in different hands can have different results. Antonelli continues to look, and Martin Brundle's right on the Sky Sports broadcast. I mean, we are really looking at a true generational talent here, for sure. And Russell's weekend was basically an amalgamation of misfortunes and errors. Some in his control, most not. And the championship picture shifted significantly. I think George even hinted, though, in post-qualifying interview I saw Paul sort of hinting like, yeah, I don't know, car seemed fine at the beginning of the year. It's not now.
Toto's always the last one to leave. I don't know.
Yeah. Why is it I see Toto coming out at midnight with a wrench in his back pocket? What's going on there? So anyway, dog whistling or not, it was a chink in the armor. I noticed. We'll start with the young Kimi Antonelli. Paul led from start. Verstappen stalled at the beginning. I think everybody kind of felt like, oh my gosh, the qualifying performance in that Red Bull was extraordinary, and Isaac showed that they had pace around Monaco, but that was extraordinary. Everybody thought that first turn, could Max get in front of him? And if he could, they were going to play hell getting around Max, right?
Yeah,
because it's Monaco.
Yep.
Unfortunately, Max stalled. We'll get into that when we review Red Bull. He did a great job. Lewis, he was there too. Couldn't beat Kimi off the line, so settled into second. He built a commanding lead to Kimi, led before the Stroll incident brought out the safety car, neutralized the race, 10 laps remaining, managed both the safety car sessions and that standing red flag restart perfectly to take his 5th consecutive victory, extending his championship by, what do I have in my notes, 66 points over Hamilton. You heard that.
Ooh.
Over Hamilton, not George. Called Monaco his most meaningful win of the season, which it would be. It's the crown jewel of Formula One. He's the youngest to win Monaco, Paul, ever. He's the youngest to complete a Grand Slam in F1. He's the youngest to lead the championship. And all I got to say, Paul, is if there was a race on the calendar where a young driver like that with all of the pressure on his shoulders leading the championship, you got George coming at him, hammer and tongs. Yep. If there was a place to feel a little bit of that pressure, it would be at Monaco, you know.
Right.
And all I got to say is just the composure this young man is. I just love this kid. He is truly, I believe, a generational talent, and you're just seeing him drive. Reminds me a little bit, Paul, of Oscar Piastri, just a very wise head on his shoulders. But how did you see his weekend?
Yeah, it was pretty good. Not bad.
Not bad.
No.
He did okay.
It's astounding what he's doing, really. Yeah. And but in that aside of what he's doing to the rest of the field, what he's doing to his teammate is obviously really hurtful for George. I mean, George has got to be seeing the writings on the wall at this point with Kimi coming on. George started the season thinking he was probably the favourite for the championship, probably was. But Kimi's gradually turned that around. The interesting thing about Kimi is I heard, in between when the race stopped, and maybe it was in the final interviews when he was talking about having to do the restart, standing start. He was like, I really didn't want that to happen, but once the decision was made, I just focused on that. I looked at data, and so that's the maturity that you would never see of a driver that age, right?
Yeah.
I mean, to be able to just not panic, just kind of get on with the job at hand. I mean, it's not surprising he's that way. There's no way he wins 5 races in a row without having a strong head on his shoulders. But, he's kind of nonchalant. He takes the pressure off himself and just enjoys the driving.
Yeah.
I think that car probably had even more pace on it, and I think he was just pushing as hard as he needed to so that whatever occurred, he would still have that cushion, right? But, and he was sticking in those fastest laps just to make everyone nervous back in the garage.
Bono was like, you just set a fast lap. We don't need those.
We don't need that. But, how do you hold the kid back? He's not making mistakes, and that's exactly what Max Verstappen used to do. It's probably for them, it's a way of keeping themselves focused on something.
Yeah.
Because it was very easy, and we even saw Senna do it at Monaco, where you take your eye off the ball and all of a sudden you're in the wall. So you kind of have to focus, and I just think he had so much potential in that car that even maybe not even taking any risk, but focusing on putting, perfect lap together, just netted him the fastest lap. And
I think, Paul, I think it was Bernie Collins who said, and I think she made a really good point about the restart. These are, I think it was Bernie. It could have been Martin, but I think it was Bernie. She was talking about the challenges now to grid back up, red flag, standing restart, far less fuel. Clutch bite points are totally different than the beginning one.
Yeah.
And yet, if there was a chance for an error there, which in the previous races he hasn't been as strong as the Ferraris off the line.
Right.
If there was a chance there, it would have been here, but he collected himself, as you said. Once they made the decision, he said, all right, well, I'm just going to rethink and just reposition it, and did a great second standing start.
He did, yeah, you're right. That was a weakness at the beginning. They had so much potential in the car. They were able to fight this way back to the front, but their starts were very, very poor compared to certainly Ferrari, who've had some great starts. So Lewis was probably just getting ready to go.
Right.
Yeah, rightfully so. The clutches are completely different by that point. They're worn out. They're hot.
Right.
There's no real great time to really reassess where that point is. I know Kimi was going through the data, and it's probably the most data they were going through was how the time on the track had actually changed where that possibly could be, and he adjusted for it and got off the line and then just didn't look back.
Yeah, it was also interesting. I wasn't listening to Mercedes radio, and they wouldn't talk about it over the radio anyway, but it was interesting. So when he got out, he drew out first, it was a 3-second, a 5-second lead. And to watch Mercedes read the race in real time and watch him pull out a lead, then he drifted back, and then he went forward again, another 10 seconds or whatever it was. And he put the hammer down. It was interesting to watch when they gave him some rain, and when they pulled the rain in, and to watch that gap ebb and flow to cover him on first stop, potential safety car stop, falling back into traffic and managing that. And to your point, that car, in Kimi's hands anyway, clearly had the pace to pull out whatever strategy changes they were doing in real time. He was able to move forward or backwards to cover that, and so that pace was in that car.
Yeah, it sure was.
Yeah.
And, I mean, he didn't even look like he was using the car up, honestly. He gave himself margin nearly in every corner. He was very fluid with that car, which is what you need in Monaco, right?
Yeah.
Confidence is a big thing. I think winning those 4 races ultimately really added on to the potential of the car, because you come in with confidence to a track like Monaco, it's going to just pay dividends. And I think that's all kind of added up to the dominance we saw. Yeah, and it is tough. You've talked about this on past podcasts, and certainly if you get, and you've talked about this because, you've done sim work and done Monaco and stuff like that. But when you do, you've talked in the past about getting this rhythm, and it's what Senna talked about, having this tunnel where nothing else exists and you're in this different world. But it's in this rhythm, and Monaco happens to have a really good rhythm to it. And you've talked about other street tracks where the rhythm isn't so evident at the track layouts, but Monaco is one of them where you get this rhythm. And so if you're in that car, Paul, and you're running low 114s, mid 113s, and I tell you to back it off, do 115s or stuff, you've talked about that's can be as difficult as is if I told you to increase, because it does mess with that rhythm. Your turn-in points and everything change at 115s differently than 113s, Yeah, absolutely. You're turning in a slightly slower speed, cars can react a little bit different. Your turn-in points are different. Your braking points are different. It just changes it all up. And you work all weekend to get that rhythm. It just has to be there for a circuit as tight and as perilous as Monaco. Any street circuit, I've driven a few in my life, and that is just what you work on the whole time. It's nearly more important than the setup of the car. They go there with a fairly close setup, but to get the driver mileage to build up that process, the better off you are, and it just continues on in the race. And you don't want to mess with the driver's pace so much when you're there. And the good drivers know where the limit is, and Kimi already does at 19.
That's what's amazing, because you could see that manifests itself on Friday practice. Friday 1, everybody taking a wider apex, not taking as much curb, easing into the weekend, easing into the rhythm and the car setup, and then making finite changes to the car. And then free practice 2, we're on a little bit more, getting a little more aggressive. Come to that final half of free practice 3, they're going at it. You got
to be in it at that point.
Yeah, you got to be completely in it at that point. And they are really pushing the limits because qualifying is coming up next and they don't have a choice, So you could see him eased into that. Yeah, not so great over on the other side of the garage for poor George. In P12, qualified P6. He admitted that he had no idea why his pace was so far off. Kimi said that the car was asking something of him that he just could not currently provide. And he collected that pit lane speeding penalty for 0.1 kilometer per hour over the 60 km per hour limit. Blamed a software issue. Mercedes confirmed they believed his driving was correct. Failed to serve the 5-second penalty correctly during a double stack pit stop under the safety car. That got him another drive-through penalty. For not doing that, which is interesting because listen to the onboards. Anthony Davison went back and listened to him, and they weren't planning on him boxing. They told him to stay out, but it was too late. He was in.
Yeah. They did. Okay.
Yeah. So, because he started turning into the pit lane. He said, stay out, and it was too late. And then they touched the car in maintenance instead of waiting. So, he's now lost a massive amount of points over the last 2 events, drops to 3rd in the championships title race. 2 points behind Lewis Hamilton at this point, 68 behind Antonelli. Things are going from bad to worse for poor George.
Yeah, I was surprised that he came in. I didn't realize that was an actual error because I'm like, why wouldn't you just go by, get your lap back, and then pit the next lap? And that puts you not only on the lead lap, but you still should be ahead of everyone else that you were fighting at that point.
Yeah.
That would have been the clearest decision. The second clearest decision was not to pit. After he pit, not to actually go in the box. He could have driven through pit lane and he would have been ahead of Kimi. And then he could have done the same thing. Yes, it's like a drive-through penalty, but he still would have been ahead of Kimi coming out of the pit lane, so therefore would have rotated him to the back of the lead lap and then do that job. So I think they kind of made 2 errors. One, not giving George the heads up way ahead of time of what they're going to do, and then second off, once George was in the pit, not having a change of plan and just drive through. I think either one of those options would have been way more beneficial than what ended up being
him waiting,
and then not waiting the 5 seconds as well. I just think it was a disaster on his side of the garage in all the ideas. It just made everything worse. So
it did.
Them saying, "Oh, I served my penalty right because I was kind of hanging out in the pit lane for a while. That's enough, right?" And it's like, no, that's not really how it works.
It sounds like the red flag came out, and then it was like, "Get Kimi in." Okay, then everybody's like, "Okay, here comes Kimi. Here he comes. Yeah. This is gonna be great." Everybody do, and then it was like, "What should we do with George? Who? George." Where is he on track? He's come down pit lane. Oh, no, George, stay out. Oh, yes. Sorry.
Oh, sorry, George.
Sorry, George.
I can just imagine me calling Bo Barfield and saying, we kind of, we were just hanging out in pit lane for about 4 or 5 seconds more than we needed to. That counts, right? No,
yeah, that counts.
No, son. Sorry. Sorry. So I think they made the worst of a worse situation.
Yeah.
In so many ways.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of blame to spread around there. Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. Wasn't on George's hands.
The pit lane thing, I don't know what was going on there.
So, Paul, let me ask just a metaphysical question.
Metaphysical? Oh, good. That's my specialty.
Yes. Or a philosophical question, maybe better.
My second best, maybe third.
Yeah. So, from a driver's perspective, this could go in my mind, 2 different ways for George. He could, if he gets beat to the championship this year, he could spiral down. You could see him ending up in a midfield team and the halcyon days of living off the largesse of Mercedes and $20 million yachts and all of the trappings that come with being a Mercedes driver could come to an end, right?
Mm-hmm.
But from a driver's perspective, is it plausible, have you seen it, that a driver like George could face this adversity and make him even more dangerous and better? And to come back, not only mid-season, but to come back and punch hard and retain his sort of top team allure?
Yeah, it's possible. If I would say if the 5 races Kimi's won haven't been won just because Kimi was driving better. If it was just bad luck, right? I mean, George hasn't been qualifying up to that snuff. I mean,
yeah,
it's hard. It's like, as I said, drivers get bad luck and they can come back from that because they don't have to bring it on themselves. They can say, well, outside circumstances have put me in here and I'm a fighter and I'm just going to fight my way back with my pure speed.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to be really hard for him because he came into this season probably feeling pretty comfortable about his situation from last year with Kimi. He's like, okay, well, Kimi's going to have his time. He's obviously a great driver, but this is my time. And now Kimi's kind of jumped a couple of years and made it his time. Can George come back and still be on the list of top talent for other teams? I would say yes, because I haven't seen a lot of better depth than George is right now. But I just don't know where he could go and what top team will be available to him, right?
Yeah, I don't either.
That it's not necessarily that he isn't a top tier driver; it's not a top tier team available to go to.
True.
As I said at the last race that he had the disaster, it's like he has to just come on in every weekend and not worry about the big picture, just the small picture of the weekend. That's literally all he can do. And if it's a little bit of a weakness, I feel, when you say, oh, well, the car suits Kimi more than me, and I'm just not capable of giving the car what it needs to go fast. Personally, I would never admit to that. And I don't think you should admit that into your head. You just have to say, this is a problem I'm going to solve, and I have the speed. I've shown it already. Things just haven't gone my way, but next time it's going to be my time.
Yeah. I before you start beating up on George, the guy is an incredibly talented race car driver. And I think we should all remember that. He's wickedly fast.
Yeah.
And he has great race vision. He kind of sees everything that's going on track, kind of like Max does. So I don't know. We'll see what happens, but
I think that he can gain some confidence from what happened to Norris last year. Like Norris was down and out and behind, and Piastri looked like he had it covered. So we know we're not even that far deep into the series when that started happening. So he's still got a ways to go. So he can take from that. And as I said, it's not over at all.
No.
George could win the next 5 races for all we know.
Yeah. I think you're right. I think and he'll know this better than anyone, but I think he's just got to forget it about all the big picture and all that. I think you're right, Paul. Just focus on each individual session.
Yep.
Start with practice, get on top of the car, get the setup, start with qualifying, get on the grid, get on pole, right? Yep. Focus on each session and just maximize each weekend you can. And we have 5 races in 7 weeks coming up, so there's a lot to be done here. Yep. All right, let's talk about Ferrari, Lewis Hamilton P2, Charles Leclerc DNF. Hamilton, from a team perspective, been using a different brake setup, as I mentioned, the lead-in the previous races. Leclerc was not. The decision in Monaco, of all places, sort of ended Leclerc's home race, according to him, was the brakes. Ferrari leaves with a podium out of this weekend. But it does make you wonder why drivers are running such different brake setups and why the known problem wasn't addressed sooner, and certainly at a place like Monaco, which I found kind of interesting. It's so much so. Well, I'll get into it when we cover Charles. I'll start pondering there. But let's talk about Lewis first. He had a really good weekend. Ran second for almost the entire race, without, I think, the pace to genuinely threaten Kimi at any moment, but received that 5-second pit lane speeding penalty along with half of Monaco. Served it cleanly during the safety car. I thought for a minute that George would end up, because Lewis had that 5-second penalty, Charles would end up in P2. Then the safety car, he got the free stop, and Charles was behind him like 9 seconds, but Charles started eating away, getting within that. He was up to like 3 and 2 seconds behind him to take advantage of the 5-second penalty. Boom, red flag, free change, right? So that undid that. And Charles was mad about why they stopped, But anyway, he secured his second consecutive podium, second time since joining Ferrari, if memory serves, which is good. He also secured, he equaled Senna's podium record of 8 Monaco podiums, so the most ever. So he equaled that, which is great. Moves to second in the championship, 2 points ahead of George Russell at this point. So that consistency we've seen from Lewis, the balance of this, for the first 6 races this season, and if it continues for the balance of the season, that consistency of Lewis is going to pay dividends. It's going to keep him in the hunt the whole year.
Yeah, it definitely seems like he's settling in.
Yeah.
And kind of having things go and directing things his way. If you're seeing things with the brake setup, and I'm sure last year he was just a follower because it was a new system, new car, new engineers, everything.
Right.
And he didn't really have the full scope of the lay of the land of who do I want, what do I want, how do I get what I want. And I think that's kind of what that year became. And he's, as you say, he's reaping the rewards of it and going definitely disparate ways on the braking system. I'd be curious to know what that difference is.
Yeah, me too.
How different they can be. But I would imagine George is going to kind of roll on that, go with that direction for next time. And it can happen. You got different engineers on the same team, and they can have a different opinion. And George and his engineer go, okay, Charles and can make those decisions independently. And one thinks he's got a better idea. Sometimes always isn't a better idea. Someone's going to be better, right? But they're probably going to go deep into the dives of the data now and see where that difference was. So if you've got a braking problem, it's just weird to me why he crashed where he did if he's got a braking problem, because it really didn't look like a braking issue. It just looked like the front tires just weren't turning, like he didn't have any heat in them, and they just weren't responding in the way he did it. But that can come from also the braking system, because you use a braking system to do the warm-up on the interior of the wheels and the tires. There's programs that teams use to actually do that on those warm-up laps where they use the brakes as basically a warm-up tool, and maybe that's got something to do with it, where they couldn't switch the tires on. So it was interesting, but he definitely had like no grip in the front, and it just kind of pushed out there. And
it was interesting because Charles and Lance both said that the reason they hit the wall there, Charles said brakes. Lance was saying that the engine was just shoving him there, that would make more sense. Yeah. And it would make if the car was deploying and he couldn't really control that. Mm-hmm. And yet, it looked to me, both of them drove over that ripped up asphalt with the chunks of asphalt immediately stuck to that front left tire. And as soon as they hit that and got all that asphalt on their tires, they just didn't turn.
Right.
But neither of them said that that's why they thought they hit the wall, which is interesting.
And everyone else behind or in front of them didn't hit the wall. So true. So it was interesting. Yeah, I'm not saying that can't seriously affect your car, but
a lot of people drove through that too. Yeah, you're right. So interesting. Well, Charles Leclerc, DNF, battled brake inconsistency from Friday through the entire weekend, said qualifying he didn't know where to brake. And I'm thinking, well, if you didn't know where to brake during, that, I'm kind of curious, like if you were sensing that on Friday. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's weird that they didn't do anything. I'm sure they did something, but it wasn't something enough, if that makes sense. He was running P3 on course for a podium and at his home race. Brakes failed catastrophically, I might add, on lap 68 at Anthony Nose Corner. And then three of the 4 calipers were non-functional at that point of the crash, is what I think I read somewhere.
I did not know that.
Well, that's what I read somewhere. I don't know. Take that with a pinch of salt, because I read
if that's
that.
the case, then I'm going to take my donkey of the race award because that's a pretty hellacious thing to happen to you.
Yeah, I read that somewhere, and I was thinking, really? Okay, 3 of the 4 calipers. Well, that's interesting. I don't know. Like I said, take it with a grain of salt.
Wow. Sorry, Charles.
Yeah, anyway. If that was the case, completely understandable. But if that was speculation, it may not be true. But he did say it was the brakes and was critical over that. Interestingly, your friends and mine over at Brembo, they got their nose out of joint, and in a rare statement, they immediately after the race released a rare statement expressing surprise at the diagnosis of blaming the brakes and calling for a full technical investigation before any conclusions are drawn. Shots fired. Brembo's been putting brakes on Ferraris for 50 years, folks.
Yeah.
So that was interesting. They didn't like Charles calling out brake issues, right?
Yeah, and there's so many things, not just that the brake company bring, that go into the brake systems.
Yeah. Well, in you could go back through the history here in Formula One. I mean, you could go back almost the modern era, but different drivers will like different brake manufacturers, right? Yeah. And I'm sure it's true in your series too, Paul.
Absolutely.
Certain drivers will like Brembo's, others will like Hitco. They'll like a different brake compound, whether how hard it is or soft disc, or whatever it is, the disc. So drivers are very particular, Paul, and I'm sure you would have, as a professional driver, you would have very strong feelings about one brake compound and disc over another.
Yep.
And so this is important, and I'm curious now is Lewis running Brembo's? I would imagine he is, but I remember not too long ago when maybe he was at McLaren, it feels like they were running split brake supplies. Don't quote me on that, but I think the 2 drivers are running split. Like one were Hitco's, the other were Brembo's. And I don't remember if that was Lewis and the other driver at the time. I don't remember. But anyway, it's normal. I would surmise Charles didn't go into detail, but he said, Lewis went a different way. I may have to do that.
Yeah.
And then Brembo releases a statement, and that made me wonder, is Lewis running a different manufacturer, right? Yeah. And that's why Brembo immediately jumped into the fray, because otherwise if both drivers are running Brembo, I don't know why they would have jumped into the fray. So watch this space.
Right. Yeah. I mean, just for example, so on our teams, we, sometimes we'll run different manufacturer front to rear axle.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, just depending on, and it's all to do with how the feel is in the pedal, how grippy the pad is. It'll also change from race to race. If you're on a low grip surface, you'll actually use a harder pad because you don't want a softer, more grippy brake to, overextend the lockup on the tire. So you would use a maybe less efficient brake, but one that's going to be able to keep the car balanced. And then also, once again, you use another one for an endurance race. So in any season, we can run 3 to 4 different manufacturers, let alone compounds.
Wow.
Car.
And what are some of the top manufacturers? Brembo's, I'm assuming, one.
Right. AP.
Okay. Is Hitco provide brakes?
Not on our series.
Not in himself. Okay. Yeah, I was curious.
Yeah, and then there's Endless that they use at Le Mans most of the time. There's a new one called New. There's several, honestly.
Yeah, interesting.
And it's all to do with how the bike point, how the release is off the brake pedal, how smooth that is.
Yeah.
Also, the grip strength of the pad versus the grip level on the track. So.
Yeah, I would say, I mean, when you're talking about racing, it could be argued tires are the most important factor, and right after that be brakes.
Yeah, and even more so now because of the brake-by-wire, right? Because
for sure.
They can actually change the caliper pressure on any corner of the car at any given time now, rather than just one brake pedal just pushing out the pads. So that compounds how important the brake system is, because it's not just a slowing down tool; it's a manipulating of the chassis tool.
Right, how to rotate the chassis, and
how to rotate or not rotate it,
or not rotate it. Yeah,
or how to,
Yeah, exactly. Well, Charles, the upside is he said he's going to switch to Hamilton's brake configuration for Barcelona.
Way to go, George.
There you go. Problem solved.
Yep.
Well done. Red Bull, Isaac Hadjar, P3, Verstappen at DNF, as I mentioned. A weekend of kind of contrast here. You got Verstappen, looked genuine for pole. I mean, honestly, it was like milliseconds between him and it's like, wow, where did that pace come from? Because I didn't see it on Friday. I mean, they look quick, and I thought he'd be amongst them, but I wouldn't factor him for pole, and that was almost there. But then that power unit failed on the grid. Third power unit related issue in 6 races. Now, you can say, oh, well, that's terrible for Red Bull powertrain, whatever, but, have some patience here. They're damn near put it on pole with this Red Bull power unit. If reliability is struggling a little bit, well, it's their first season making engines, so give them a little break, right?
Exactly.
So, Max, not a lot to say. Great qualifying, 43 milliseconds, and then he reported an issue on the formation lap, and then it just basically stalled out, and everybody scattered around him. At the beginning, he was out of the race.
Yeah, luckily, no one hit him.
Yeah, I know. That's always dangerous, right? And he wasn't raising his hand. As you're supposed to do. But let's talk about Isaac. P3, great result for him. Ran pretty much controlled opening stint. Then he started, like he said, 14, 15 laps in the race, had real power issues, drivability issues, fighting mechanical issues for 7 to 8 laps around Monaco is something you do not want to do. Monaco is not the place you want to have to deal with that kind of thing with the wall so close, but he did. He hung in there, gained the position, staying out during the Stroll safety car, which was a great move, Paul, allowing the others to pit and converting that strategic call into a genuine podium from there. I think it was a great call. Cleared after post-race investigation about a red flag infringement. The team had been doing some work on the car during the red flag, and the FIA asked what they were doing. They said, well, yeah, we're just doing this, and they put the pieces back that they had, and so they were cleared of that. Second podium, I think, if memory serves, and really just establishes himself as a race weekend presence. As long as the car and reliability is there, he did a great job, and he did it wonderfully. Paul, continually yelling and shouting and screaming over the radio. That just drives me nuts. I'm sorry.
It does drive me nuts.
It drives me nuts.
Just stop.
I understand being animated, and I get it. And I get it when Max says, come on, guys, this is blanking, blank, and all that. And I get it. He's a 4-time champion, and I get it. But I'm I keep thinking, Isaac, you're getting red mist, you're getting upset and all that stuff. I know there's a lot of stress. You're in the moment, heat of battle, and I get all that. But wow, dude, you're going to impact your race if you don't stop.
Yes. It doesn't seem to impact his race so much. It impacts me watching his race. But
right.
He's definitely proved himself. He's the guy they've been looking for.
Which
is the next backup to Max and keeping the car competitive and being the one take the pieces when they come to you, and Max was out, but he still picked up podium for the team, so it's probably hard for the team to criticize him so much, but just for his longevity, and you just need to get your head in the right space and stop venting against people rather than just focus on being the best you can be in the moment. And there's no doubt he did a great job. If you're dealing with a car with those kind of issues, which would be an inconsistent at best around a track like Monaco. I mean, he was obviously mentally, fatigued by the end of it, and but yeah, it's just not that likable, I suppose, in his approach, and maybe that'll mature and he'll figure it all out. But he's a young guy desperate for notoriety and and finding his place on the grid. So as we saw with Yuki, the temperament doesn't usually change that much.
No.
So, but I'm hoping Isaac can make it. We can have a kinder, gentler Isaac, but still retain the same tenacity that he does on track.
Yeah, agreed. But he's doing what I've said all these years with Perez and everybody else. What Red Bull wants is if Max isn't there to win it or be on the podium, then their second driver they want, and he did. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's on the podium, so good for him. He's doing what the team want him to do, which bodes well for his long-term prospects at Red Bull. McLaren, tough weekend for McLaren. Piastri P4, Norris DNF, didn't finish. I kind of feel like maybe this will be interesting to watch McLaren if they claw out of this. I think there's some structural issues kind of going on around that chassis and design. Norris' retirement was second consecutive DNF. Andrea Stella described as a terminal issue, but it was likely the last scheduled race for that specific power unit anyway. Yay! Yay! Good for him.
It was crap anyway. So
yeah, I think
good riddance.
With that one. Yeah, we're
good
done
riddance.
With So it's like, okay, that's a positive. Yay! The bigger concern is kind of this front wing they've been monkeying with. They tested it here for a second time, and then for a second time chose not to use it. So whether the correlation is off or something, which is really interesting for McLaren, but the underlying downforce deficit to Mercedes is now sort of showing up in race trim, not just qualifying. And it's something they're going to have to get on top of, but it's something we've seen them get on top of in the past. So I think that'll be interesting to watch. And it'll be interesting to see if they actually use that new wing in Barcelona. Well, who knows?
Well, it's interesting that they'd use it at Monaco. I mean, what a different track Monaco is compared to every other track they go to.
Yeah, why would they have used it? I know what you're saying, and you're spot on. They may have brought it, testing it again for correlation data, but they're not going to use it at Monaco. It's a different track.
Right, exactly. And plus, depending on how they're... it might just be the only place they can test it, and maybe they just threw it on there, knowing already premeditated they weren't going to use it twice. Maybe this is the new wing, and we know that build factors are tough, timelines. This might be the wing that they do want to use for Barcelona, and they don't want to destroy it at Monaco. Right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, I think that's a good shot. I think you're spot on with that one. Oscar P4 qualified P7, gained 3 places through all of the chaos, and then without really overtaking anyone, which he himself noted as, with his characteristic honesty about the team's pace. Yeah, no, I inherited it. It didn't pass anybody, but whatever. He served a 0.1 kilometer per hour pit lane speeding penalty, along with half of Monaco, and acknowledged the team's pace was simply not where it needed to be. Stella said Ferrari and Mercedes were kind of operating in a completely different dimension at this point from both of them, which has got to be... That's got to be tough for McLaren, just won 2 constructors' championships, 1 drivers' championships last year, and now you got Ferrari and Mercedes, clearly ahead of them. That's tough.
Right.
And I know all the men and women there, and Zach and everybody are working hard to solve this. And if anybody could do it, it could be McLaren.
Yeah.
But anyway,
it is difficult. It's difficult right now for Piastri. I mean, you asked across the board halfway through last season who would be their pick for the driver if they couldn't have the drivers they had. It would have been him. But he's kind of fallen into the fog a little bit, and it's maybe just the car. I'm not sure. And it hasn't allowed him to show the Piastri that we've seen, who can be just devastatingly, quick. through
Well,
a race
you make a
weekend.
good point, Paul, because, I mean, Lando's had technical failures, not driving failures, and when Lando's working, he's usually ahead of Oscar.
Yeah, Oscar just had a ho-hum
Yeah.
race, and so
Right.
maybe it's car-related, but he personally needs to show up.
Yeah, agreed. Maybe he's having conversations with Red Bull. Who knows? Lando missed FP2, engine shut down, limited race prep. A lot of issues. I made my notes, but he did battle Gasly early on. Gasly got around him in the early laps. A pass on track, no doubt. Amazing. Retired in lap 45, power unit failure. Very tough. Very tough weekend for Lando. I felt bad for him. Should we talk about more positive things? Let's talk about more positive. We'll talk about the Racing Bulls. You had Liam Lawson in P5, Arvid Lim. There's just a lot of vowels in these two names. I'm struggling with.
Well,
A lot of L's and yes. Yeah, a lot of L's, a lot of vowels. Liam Lawson and Arvid Lindblad. Say that real quick. P6. Arvid was P6. Both cars, from a team perspective, finishing the points great. Both drivers delivered career equaling or best. In case of Arvid, best career equaling best for Liam. Great weekend for both of them. And you got to hand it. I mean, both of these cars were on high stands just before the race started. Yeah. And a lot of concern about whether either of them would make it. So getting both of the points, I just thought was a great strategy from Alan Permain and team. Great driving from both these drivers to get up there. We'll start with Liam in P5. Started P10, stayed clean throughout the race. When everybody else kind of fell away through attrition, speed limit issues, defended his position in the final stages. Thought did a really good job. Equaled his best finished position in P5. A good race for Liam. And watching him just minutes before they were supposed to go out for the formation on the grid, he's standing there looking in the garage, and the whole bottom's taken off the car. It's on high stands. A lot of anxiety there for poor Liam.
Yeah, no, tough. But he did a very solid race, as you say, jumping over other people's mistakes. But very, very solid race and finish worked out well for him. I think his teammate, as I said last time, I'm still not sure about him. What to make of him. But the team just rolled the dice. And can you imagine what the garage was like when they put the red flag out? They must have just been popping the champagne.
Yes.
Because that's literally the only card they had left. We're just going to wait for a red flag.
Completely thwarted Williams' gambit of backing everybody up for signs to get both cars in the points, which is a great move.
It was.
But Arvid just done.
Yeah.
That was great.
Stay out. Are you sure? Stay out.
Yeah.
Keep going. Yeah.
And he managed to restart real well, too.
Yeah.
Stayed in P6, career best, called it beyond anything he could imagine. Yeah, I just think there's these moments in him that are like, whoa, that is impressive, right? And then he's got other technical issues, a mechanical failure, whatever it is. And I don't know that we've seen the complete Arvid package yet, But, yeah, there's some interesting stuff there. Anyway, okay. Alpine, Pierre Gasly, P7. Franco Colapinto, P14. A little bit of bittersweet weekend. I felt horrible. Gasly drove an excellent race. Yeah. Overtook Hadjar on the outside at the red flag restart. Crossed the line in third. 2 5-second pit lane speeding penalties, costing 10 in total, dropped him to 7th. He didn't know about either of those penalties until after the checkered flag or around the red flag, maybe, I think. And Alpine immediately filed for a rider review. They were like, look, this doesn't make sense. He crossed the line third, but both penalties after they applied drops him down. I think they're right for doing that. I think there was something really weird. The director of the team. I saw it. Sorry, name flew out of my head. I saw his video and he said, look, the way they're measuring it, he said, we saw a total of like 6 penalties during this race. That's normally what you might see overall an entire season, not just one race.
Yeah, it's not a common penalty in Formula 1, for sure.
Yeah, and so I thought that was odd, but you could just see him post-race interviews, man. Pierre, you talk about down. Felt horrible.
Yeah, I'm still trying to figure it out. Because they said people were cutting the corner. Well, you can't really cut the corner, really, because the corner is the corner, and if you get close to the barriers, that's your right. But all I can think of is that the right front tire is hitting the line because of the nature that the line is in the middle of a corner, that the right front is hitting the line first and then the outside tire is hitting it second. And there's some kind of judgment factor between both wheels being over the line and that first initial hit of the wing. I don't know. I really don't know.
And it makes you wonder. Yeah, it makes you wonder because they're saying, well, they were taking a different, shorter line in, and so they were crossing the line and they were a little faster. But I think Alpine's case was, well, that may be a timing factor to the line of what they're doing, but we have the actual data from the car showing that it was not going faster than 40 miles an hour, irrespective of when we crossed the line. It was going 40.
Right.
Yeah. So, and if that's the case, then they got it wrong. If the car wasn't going faster than 40, then what's the point? You got to the line quicker, but whatever.
We had it with us at Long Beach, actually. And we had
Did you?
Yeah, and there was an error on their side. So you got to fight it. You have to fight it, especially if you think you're right.
I think they should. And equally, not a great weekend. Struggled with brake confidence all weekend. Setup balance was off. A real role reverse because we've seen Franco really on a high the last few races, doing really well. But
the penalty
this is sort of
just shuttled him right back.
Yeah, it did. It did. Yep. He had that pit lane, and then he had a clash with Sainz and Portier.
Right.
No action taken on that. I think Carlos was a wounded duck at that point. But let's talk about Williams. Cruel Monaco. Albon scored 8th. Good result for the team. After Verstappen's retirement, obviously there's a lot of attrition, so they allowed these guys to score. Had a bit of a deployment issue from lap 15 onward, I think I read. Had the whole team orders discussion to hold the pack up for signs. A sign that Williams is now thinking and operating competitively with that in mind, right? Yeah. So they're definitely doing that, as they did last year and made the whole world mad. And James came out with an apology tour, remember? Yeah, sorry, but the rules, them's the rules. And we're going to take advantage of it. So, they were doing that. And it looked like it was going to work but unfortunately, Alex had a bad sort of restart. Arvid got by him.
Yeah, that was weird.
He got in front of him.
It seemed like he let him by because Arvid still had that extra pit stop to take, so I think they weren't worried about him. And they were like, well, just let him go, else something will happen. But he retained the mode of holding everyone else back that had already done their pit stop. And
I saw some discussion post-race that maybe he had gone over that asphalt and got a little squirrely and so got a bad launch out of that corner, and Arvid got a better launch out of that corner going down the straight. But who knows?
Could happen.
So anyway, but with Arvid in front, you thought, well, he still has to stop, so both Williams, regardless, they're going to get in the points. This is great. Red flag came out. Free stop for Arvid. Yeah. So Albon to the points, Carlos not.
Yeah, and Albon was obviously moaning, I don't understand this, guys, but they were absolutely correct in what they were telling him to do. He didn't see the big picture there. It was a great play. It just didn't work out because
it didn't work.
Sainz ended up not finishing. But either way, it would have.
Well, Sainz, he had DNF. He got clouded by Hulkenberg at Lowe's, or the hairpin, I should call it. Sorry, I don't know what it's called now. And then Colapinto.
We'll call it Lowe's hairpin.
I'm going to call it Lowe's hairpin. Yeah. So how'd you see that incident? I think I asked you about it in the Audi review, but I'll ask you now.
Yeah, I think, there was nothing Hulkenberg could do, but he was the one that made the contact, right? I don't think it was egregious in any way. He made the pass on the person behind him, which he had to take the tight line on the entry. There was no way he could keep a tight line from entry to exit. So he had to go out there. It was just unfortunate for Sainz that his rear wheel was there where Hulkenberg couldn't do anything about it. And so I think, I don't blame Hülkenberg, but he was the one that made the contact, so he deserved the penalty. But I think it was just a racing incident to some degree, but someone really had to be blamed for it, and so I guess they had to blame Hülkenberg.
Yeah, I kind of felt like, Carlos was out wide up against the barrier, and Hülkenberg was down on the inside, and I kind of felt like as Carlos came back off the wall to get lined up for the next corner, they touched, so...
I mean, they were both trying to drive the line, and they weren't.
They were. And I guess to my point, and I agree with you, I kind of just saw it as a racing incident, if I'm honest. But,
right.
Yeah. All right. Haas, Esteban Ocon, P8, Behrman, DNF. Esteban slowly recovered through, and then thanks to all the attrition, made it up to P9, had some good strategy calls. That worked out well for him. First points of the 26th season for young Esteban, so that's good. Komatsu said it's exactly what the team needed and deserved to get some points, so that's good for Esteban. Behrman tapped Ocon into the hairpin on the first lap as they all started to check up, and he tapped the back of him, and that required him to pit on lap 1. And I was surprised that it didn't do any damage. You see the tire smoked a little bit, the right rear of Esteban's, but he kept his foot in it. There was a lot of it, yes, there's a lot of attrition that got Esteban up in the points, but they, and I agree with Komatsu, they need it. They really do. We're starting to see
downish races, right?
Yeah, the development war is starting to really expose itself at Haas, and Gene may want to seriously think about investing ahead of revenue. Otherwise, I think we're going to see them drifting towards the back.
You think?
I don't know. They started the season off strong, but they've really been struggling of late.
Yeah, I don't know. I think they can make a comeback.
I'm sure they'll have updates.
The tracks and stuff. I think it's a still big fight and it's going to see quite a bit in the midfield. Yeah, I don't think it's any dominating factor at this point.
Okay, you think Haas is still very much in contention up there with Alpine and midfield?
I think they can. I think just the nature of the races and maybe a bit of bad luck, but I think they're going to make a comeback. Yeah. All
right. And Ali had further damage and retired the car from that. So not a lot to report there. No. Audi, Gabriel Bortolotto, P11, Hülkenberg, P13. Gabby started from the pit lane pole.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate because he fought through the field to get back up to 11th. A good personal performance on his part. And Hülkenberg looks set to score points too. I thought Audi looked pretty competitive this weekend.
The chassis was quick.
Yeah. I thought on Friday it looked good. Coming into qualifying, wasn't a disaster. I thought they'd be kind of thereabouts, hovering around the points, So unfortunate that neither of them got in the points. I feel like they both could have been on for points.
Yeah, I think they looked pretty good. Things conspired in the race. If they had kept their noses clean, they certainly would have been in the points. The chassis looked fairly decent, honestly. And so, I think that's opportunity lost for them, really.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, Hülkenberg got that 10-second penalty, or I think he would have been in the points.
Exactly.
Yeah. So anyway, that was tough. But the upside of that is Aston Martin. Fernando Alonso gets a point. P10. Stroll a DNF. Fernando, he inherited 10th from Perez, who got a penalty. He did that real aggressive early one-stop strategy there. Stopped on lap 3 for softs and turned that in because of the red flag. Ended up turning a medium soft gambit into success. Nobody called the medium soft gamble, but
certainly
but he
not
did
get rid of the medium in 3 laps.
Yeah, but he pulled it off, and it worked. It's first points in 26 for both Alonso and Aston Martin, so they needed some points. So that's good.
Surprising if they were going to do that, which seemed like a pre-planned move, that they wouldn't have started on a soft and gone to the medium on lap 3, but.
Anyway. I thought the same thing. Because why would you go from medium to soft, medium for 3 laps, then to soft, knowing you're going to make it?
Yeah.
I'm sure they were banking on attrition, but still.
Yeah, it's an interesting choice, but
yeah, it is. Yeah,
that's all they've got is interesting choices. They don't have any pace, so
that's what you're left with. Yeah,
let's do something everyone else isn't, because
Yeah. Lance, he crashed at Anthony Noser, lap 60, and Mike Crack confirmed they're looking at it because he said it was really an issue. Stroll pointed primarily to the drivability issue and that the power deployment and everything kind of shoved him in the wall. So that's an issue.
Yeah, that would be an issue, like a stuck throttle kind of thing.
Yeah, that's scary. And then Cadillac, Perez P15 and Bottas DNF. Perez crossed the line in P10. That's where he was going to end up. Then he got a 10-second penalty for starting in the wrong grid slot at the red flag restart. Now, let me cover this. I think I have this right. He received a drive-through penalty at the original start for occupying Gabby's vacated grid slot, then fought back to P10 on the road, and then received a 10-second penalty post-race for starting the wrong slot at the red flag restart. And I'm thinking, Paul, how is a veteran missing this?
It's not his fault. As far as I can tell, I mean, I would say that's a communication from the pit wall, honestly. I mean, I don't know how he lined up on the second one, but normally, you see people, you go left, you go right, you go left, I don't know I don't know how he messed up the second one. The first one, I would say, must have been a communication issue where, okay, this guy's not starting, we have to leave the spot ahead of you empty.
Yeah.
Right? And maybe that didn't get communicated to him unless you just chose to ignore it. But I can, and you can see that in a new team.
Yeah.
Right?
You can
learn by your mistakes, and that was a mistake. Hopefully they won't make again.
Yeah. Great point. And it's Monaco, their walls, it's hard to see exactly where you are, and and it's a curved front straight, so
and everyone's moving, so Perez may have been like, well, I'll just, when he parks, and he was already too late. I don't know. But,
who knows?
I think the team should have communicated better and had a better plan as they came around that last corner to make sure they're in the right grid slots. But
well, and Cadillac suffered all weekend with brake issues, brakes catching fire and heat, and that's what ended Valtteri's day. So brake temps, so not good.
Were they shouting at Brembo too?
No, apparently not. And Brembo didn't release a statement about that Cadillac, so they must not be running Brembo. Who knew? I don't know. I don't know what they're running to be. I don't know that. So anyway, all right. Well, let's give out some awards. We always give out an award because we like it. And we typically give out the first award, which we like to call Move of the Race. Yes. All right, Paul, who's your move of the race?
I'm going to give it to the Red Bull team for keeping Hadjar out there on the used tyre and not coming in and giving him that track position, and ultimately ended up giving him the third position.
Nice. Yes. Good choice, Paul. I actually gave it to the actual passes on track, all three of them that I remember.
You've given it to
I remember.
Okay.
I think I remember three of them. You had Isaac and Arvid and Pierre. So you had Isaac on Pierre, you had Pierre on Lando, and you had Arvid on Albon.
There you go.
Yeah. I think they were all good passes, especially Pierre's, because it's Lando Norris that he caught him going up Massenet, which I thought was pretty gutsy. Perez tried that last year. Or two years ago. A couple years ago. Walls, bounced off the wall like Ollie Behrman did in Massenet. So, Anyway, so I gave it that. All right, next award. Oh, yeah.
Seriously, Todd?
Yes.
We'll do it live.
It's Donkey of the Race. Who'd you get, Paul?
Okay, well, I was going to give it to Charles, but now I'm kind of pulling back a little bit because I don't want to blame the guy if he only had one wheel left on his wagon.
Well, it's rumored. I don't know.
The rumor. So I'm going to give it to his side of the garage of Ferrari for either choosing the wrong brake combo that ultimately failed him, or Charles, or the group. But just that side of the garage for the failure and the end up, giving away a third spot on the podium.
Yeah.
Not a good look. And it's tough because we've seen Charles do that stuff before. So that's why I was leaping too quickly just to blame Charles alone, but I'll give it to Charles and his engineer.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm giving it to Brembo. No, I'm not. I'm not. No angry email, Brembo. You make great brakes. I'm not giving it to you. No, I'm giving it to the pit lane speed limit measurement system. So I made notes. I went and I ran around looking for kind of commentary on it. So you had 6 penalties, 5 drivers, 4 of them measured at exactly 0.1 kilometers per hour over the speed limit.
Yep.
The FIA's reviewed its timing lines and equipment, and I think they said there was no fault. But I think the best I could tell, and somebody correct me if I have this wrong, the explanation was that the drivers took a slightly tighter line through the pit lane entry, shortening the measured distance and making average speed appear higher at the limiting or the timing loops. And so, as I said, that Alpine is contesting this through writer review, arguing the drivers generally did not exceed the speed limit. They were going faster.
Yeah, and it's not like the track changed from practices to the race. So I don't know his fault. Maybe the team pushed it a little bit. Maybe their measurement. I don't know. I think the jury's still out. We may still have some reverberations after this one. Yeah, and I could have that wrong. If I do, folks, correct me in the comment section, because it is a head scratcher, and I think I think Alpine's right. This total of speed limit violations is what you might see over an entire season, not in one race. So something is off, and it cost a lot of people. It started George Russell's downward spiral. Period. Yep. Full stop. Sure did. All right, final award. Oh yeah,
Get in there, Lewis.
you got it. It is driver of the race. I think we both have the same young chap, don't we?
Yes, surprise, surprise, right?
Yeah.
How can you not?
Paul, I mean, his performance, you have to give it the recognition on its own terms and what it deserves.
Yep.
He is in the best car, the fastest car, and I agree. His teammate is a incredibly fast driver, too. But what he's doing at 19 years old, I gave him this award, Paul, for me, not because I think the race was easy for him, but actually because I think he made the race look easy.
Right.
And that's why I give him the award, because I think that's uncanny in a 19-year-old.
It certainly is. Yeah. Even when we saw Max, he was still, he never put this kind of level of performance in consecutively.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. We are watching something truly special.
Yeah. We are.
Yeah. All right. Well, that does it for this podcast. We're going to come back next weekend and talk about Barcelona. Yeah, I can't play it that long or I get a copyright.
You don't want to play that, Bill.
No, I know. It's silly. Anyway, we're talking about Barcelona next
track
weekend.
That everyone teams know the best. So.
Yes, they all know it. They all love it.
Yeah.
We'll be doing that. But you can share your opinion about Monaco. You can do that by going to theparkforme.com. Share your opinion. And if you like this podcast, do what you're supposed to do. On YouTube, hit like, subscribe, share. Give us a good rating.
Jump
on your
out of the
favorite
chair,
podcast.
go yeah,
like Toto did.
Yes, right.
I sent Paul and Grace a post that they had on Mercedes X account, and it's Toto and he wins and Toto's up and he's jumping up and down. He's so excited, and I sent it over to Grace and Paul said, "Oh man, this is like the old days. Remember when he used to do this for George?" Oh. Yeah, he never really did that for George. So anyway.
Well, there's another little race going on next week too.
Yes. What is it? Tell us about it.
The Le Mans.
Yes.
24 hours.
24 hours of Le Mans. Such
the best race in the world.
It is the best. Yeah. I'm sorry, Indy 500. But
yeah, sorry.
Le Mans
maybe
is
a spectacle, but Le Mans is the best race in the world.
It is the best race in the world. There's no doubt about it. It is so good.
Yeah.
And
that's aren't looking too bad. So I'm
good.
Excited.
That's good. I'm excited too. And I've said this on previous podcasts. Everybody is, what's the one race you want to go to? Monaco? No. Le Mans. I'd love to go to Le Mans.
Rightfully so.
Yeah. Anyway, so we'll be back. We're going to be talking about a lot of racing then. And we get to do that. So until next week, Paul, Have a great week, and we will be back next week to do this all over again. Until that time, this is Todd, a.k.a. Negative Camber, saying so long, and thank you, Craig, for the sign. Really appreciate it. Take care.
That's it, man. Game over, man. It's game over. It's not what I feel I've got to prove at all. I don't really want to prove anything. I started as an amateur with no idea or no intention of becoming world champion. I was curious to find out what it was like to drive a car fast, to drive on a certain circuit, to drive a certain type of car.